League One Women's Match of the Round coverage for round 13. It's the end of the first half of the season, and we are at Football New South Wales headquarters in the heart of Western Sydney for what should be a fascinating clash between two of the contenders in this division. It is Hills United hosting St George FC. Eric Subihano with the commentary here in Glenwood. Absolutely thrilled to be calling this one for you today. Well, for Hills United, as we get to the middle part of the season, it's been an excellent season for Alan Tass's side so far. Only one defeat in the 11 games that they have played so far. However, that was the last time they were in front of our cameras when Hills lost 2-1 away to Central Coast Mariners at wet and cold Plume Park. Plume, wet and cold. Nothing changes, huh? Meanwhile, for St George FC, they're the league's top scorers. They can already raise the bat. 50 goals scored in the league this season, led by Jordan Baker, who's netted 16 of them in League One Women's, if you can believe that, and Jordan Baker with an additional 4 goals in the Sapphire Cup as well. So she is having an excellent season. St George FC currently in 5th. As we head into this one, 7 points behind the leaders Hills. And as we get the pre-match formalities completed, with Football New South Wales photographer Angela Depolbe doing an excellent job. And she's getting some pre-match team photos, which I'm sure all the players will enjoy when those are published. So, as we see the two captains do the coin toss, Aisling Davidson for Hills United and Jordan Baker for St George. That actually could be a fascinating head-to-head battle later on. We'll have to see how the game plays out. But for Hills, in their usual kit with the gold jerseys and the dark blue shorts, while St George FC, it's the usual kit for them as well, the white jerseys and the red shorts and the green socks. So let's go through the two starting lineups. Firstly, for Hills United, in goal, well, she's back after representing Australia in the Futsal Asian Cup, because in goal, number 99 is Sarah Easthope. And we're expecting 4 at the back. Number 15, Tamsin Buchanan. Number 5, Brooke Hasty. Number 3, Aisling Davidson. And Tamsin Buchanan is 15, and number 5 is Rani Plummer. We think 5 across the midfield. Number 8, Bella Donaldson. Number 10, Bianca Galliini. Number 25, Monique Holder. Number 14, Ellen Rosenberg-Chemajar. And number 11, Isabella Chaberis. And up front for Hills, number 7, Gemma Woolley. As I said earlier, Hills coached by Alan Tassis, a man with plenty of experience in this division. For St George FC, I'm not game to try and guess their formation, but thankfully League One Women's reporter who is here in attendance, Justin Davies, they've told me the goalkeeper, so at least I'll get one position right. But in goal for St George FC, number 20, Caitlin Russell. The rest of the starters, number 3, Danielle Rutstein. Number 7, Taylor Kvetkovsky. Number 8, Abby Rose Cryer. Number 9, Jordan Baker. Number 10, Janan Kodmani. Number 13, Lauren Johnson. Number 14, Angelina Manos. Number 15, Genevieve Russo. Number 18, Jaslyn Moore. And number 26, Sienna Borrell. St George FC are coached by Mark Greenfield, and can I just say, Greenfield, an excellent surname for a football coach. And just actually I might sneak through at least one set as substitutes, because we're seconds away. The match officials just getting into position, but for Hills, backup keeper is Bridget Bryan. The other players we could see later, as there's a whistle, away we go, at least for Hills, Helena Berridge, Zoe Murdoch, Rachel Glendenning, Jess Wooden, who's actually the Hills top scorer for 2025, by the way, with 11 goals. And rounding off the Hills substitute bench, Ellen Berrios. For St George FC on their bench, backup keeper Emilia Vidakovic. Then there's Tara Palmer, Ashley Kotevsky, Morgan Maxwell, Rebecca Cousins, and Paris Alcorn. So Hills going from right to left as we see things in the first half towards the car park end of Valentine Sports Park, field number 2. And actually, listening in, it's good to see the local juniors, the Hills United youth players are braving the cold and chanting in support of their first grade team, the players, of course, that they hope to one day emulate. I have noticed, and as Caitlin Russell has a little bit of an adventure early on, but she's a futsal player, so she's good on the ball. She's not even, Justin, she's not even a keeper in futsal. She actually... Ooh. Well, she does both, yeah. But Caitlin Russell with footwork like what we just saw could be useful for St. George FC as they try to play out from the back. And Jordan Baker, early ball aimed towards her. Didn't make it stick, but it's still with the visitors. And Sarah Easthope back in goal for Hills United. She was on the bench for a lot of their games in the preceding rounds, but the word out of the club is that she wanted to focus on futsal commitments because, as I said earlier, she was part of the history-making Australian women's national futsal team that participated, that had Australia's first participation in the Asian Cup, as that is aimed at the far post, and Easthope will shepherd that out of play. That was earlier this month. Unfortunate for Australia that they were eliminated in the group stage of the Asian Cup, but still a wonderful thing to see players from this competition and the top tier NPL Women's New South Wales representing our country on the futsal court. And just in time, thankfully to the kind and ever hard-working venue staff at Valentine Sports Park. They've turned on the lights here in the grandstand, so it's good. Justin and I can actually see what we're doing. By the way, fun fact for you, you know who used to be venue staff at Valentine Sports Park? Courtney Vine. Yeah, the player who scored the winning penalty for the Matildas in the 2023 World Cup quarterfinal shootout. Yeah, she used to work here. Anyway. Now we do have... we should have, or at least very soon, one full-time score coming in because there was a 3:30 p.m. kickoff at, I think, Ernie Smith Reserve Field number 2 between SD Raiders and Justin. I've gone blank. Who are they playing? Oh, no, we don't know either. Okay, we'll get back to you. Don't worry. But SD Raiders were hosting the Spartans in Moorebank, but other games still in progress. And we do note that, unfortunately, due to the wet weather, the game that Central Coast Mariners were due to host has unfortunately been washed out. We do thoughts are with people on Central Coast because they've received a lot of rain recently. And here's an early shot, I think from Kvetkovski, which was blocked. Played in, and a little bit of space for Moore. Now Kodmani. Kodmani has some support in this wide area. Moore again. Hills working hard to prevent the cross. Now, touch Moore again. Past one player, but not past the second defender. And I think that was Bella Donaldson helping out the defenders and actually wins the goal kick as well. So Hills, they've been busy recently, involved in midweek cup action, making the long trip to Linwood Park to face defending NPL New South Wales champions MacArthur Rams. A good showing by all accounts, but Hills did lose 3-1 on Wednesday night in the 4th round of the Sapphire Cup to MacArthur. So they are out as Tamsin Buchanan with a pretty decent looking long throw, which could be an attacking weapon later on in the game. But in the league, Hills were victorious last time out at Cook Park. Galliani does keep it in play, but Hills 7 days ago visiting Cook Park in Nepean and a 3-0 winners over Nepean FC in the league. Meanwhile, St. George FC also successful against the Western Sydney team. Last time out for Mark Greenfield's sides. They were at home, Barton Park, and winning by 5-0 over the Spartans. That was their last game. It was 2 weeks ago because last weekend their home game against SD Raiders was washed out. And, of course, keep an eye out on the usual channels to see the dribble app, the trusty dribble app, and socials to see when that'll be replayed, as Woolley could be in here, but that is excellent defending from Angelina Manos, because Gemma Woolley, who scored so many goals in this division over the years, about to pull the trigger, but Manos used her body excellently. And there we go. It's the two captains with an early clash. And we're just going to take a break and check on Jordan Baker to see that she's okay. That's good. You can't be top quality centre forward, as Jordan Baker most definitely is, unless you can handle a bit of contact. And so Baker kind of checking the lower back, but I think she'll be okay to continue. Johnson goes direct, and header from a Plummer. And Hasty will get pressed by Moore here. Now Buchanan. Pass goes astray. Played back. Here's Johnson, and the through ball could be on. Hasty's in the way, and now Holder back to defend for Hills. Well, Johnson again getting a few early touches. Appears to be at right back for St. George FC, but now it's Chemajar for Hills. And Chemajar, well, she loves playing in front of our cameras as Woolley chases this one, and it'll be worked back to the keeper. Good work in defense from Russo there. Despite the defeat last time, Hills were on a feature game, a match of the round on our Football New South Wales YouTube channel. And we thank you for tuning in, as always, by the way. But Ellen Chemajar was on the score sheet up at Plume Park. And the game before that, as it's Chemajar wanting a handball but not getting the decision, Chemajar scored 5 times in the round 9 game against Southern Strikers down at Harry Denning Centre. By the way, Southern Strikers, they made some big moves in the mid-season transfer window. We'll get onto that perhaps a little bit later on. Well, there's the St. George header, goes towards Hasty. And now Hasty again. Now, Hasty might have taken too long there, but recovers and is back in position to prevent the quick ball. St. George tried to play it behind the defence, but another giveaway. And I think that was Donaldson helping out. Johnson inching forward, as literally everyone does when they have a throw-in. But when in doubt, go down the line, and she's gained about 20 metres. Baker leaves it for Johnson. Throw-ins usually the duties of the fullbacks. And as it's delivered in by Kvetkovski, headed away. And then good win from Chemajar. Now going direct. Woolley was making a threatening run in behind, but enough white jerseys in the way for the visitors. Here's Kodmani. Kodmani, decent ball out wide to Rutstein. Rutstein delivers, Easthope is up, and a very confident catch. Right, St. George with possession once again. Kodmani. Now worked centrally. Borrell. And Borrell, touch off Hills, I think off Davidson, who was lunging, and Buchanan decides to go for safety. Well, this is all the makings of a great clash. As I said, Hills United, sorry, start with St. George FC, because as I said earlier, best attack in the league. 50 goals scored already, and add to that the 13, yes, no wait, yes, 13 goals that they've scored in the Sapphire Cup, so 63 goals scored before the end of May. That's a lot of goals. Mark Greenfield's clearly doing something right. But for their part, Hills United, the best defence in League One Women's, only 4 goals conceded. And if you add to that the 3 goals they conceded in the Cup on Wednesday night against MacArthur, still only 7 let in for the entire campaign. A very good record, and I'm sure Alan Tassis will be pleased by that. There's there. What a touch from assistant referee 1. The back heel straight to Tamsin Buchanan, and he gets a well-deserved round of applause from the crowd. Bit of an awkward hop for Woolley. Couldn't quite use the torso to bring it down. Instead, Russo back to Russell. Now, St. George building from the back, but Chemajar stolen in and shoots from range. but Caitlin Russell, safe hands. So yeah, Ellen Chemajar, third high scorer in the league with 10 goals. I mentioned, in addition to the exploits I mentioned earlier in front of our cameras, there was also a hat-trick in round 2 against Inter-Lions, so certainly a performance that Ellen could show plenty of pride in back in round 2, and she's been an excellent pickup for Hills United after previously playing in this division with SD Raiders. She's traded Southwest for Northwest, and things are going very well for Chemajar as Kvetkovski. Now Russo back to Russell. Russell trying the near side. As we see things, Danielle Rutstein called for offside, so touched it inside her own half. But, of course, you go back from where she was when the ball was played, and Rutstein hadn't gotten back in time. Now, special hello to any multi-screening friends we have here, because if you like multi-screening, well, you've got plenty of choice with the the 5 NPL Women's New South Wales streams we have going on at the same time, as there's a good turn from Monique Holder. Left-footed shot, and it swings away from the far post, but a round of applause from the home faithful. Great skill from Monique Holder. And Holder certainly a very two-footed player, but rolled onto a left foot at that time. Russell was kind of hoping that wouldn't drop in at the far top corner. As Hills attack again, through to Woolley. No, it's not, because Russo gets the foot in there. But right behind that Monique Holder shot, and it swerved just away from the post. And if it had been hit with a little bit of swerve the other way, we might have had our opening goal. But it's 0-0 here. 0-0 here at Valentine Sports Park Field 2 between Hills United and St George FC, with Eric Subihano on the mic. And as always, a privilege to be calling this a wonderful competition, as Shabaris looking to run at the defense and gets to the byline. That shoots from a tight angle. Russell blocks it, but perhaps Russell not expecting the shot, but she did well nonetheless, the St George shot stopper. And after a couple of early St George forays, it's Hills United trying to make their mark, as that is Hasty with a wonderful ball. Yes, Shabaris will get onto that near the corner flag. And Shabaris tried the nutmeg, but didn't get to the ball on the other side. So team defending, saving, stopping the play there for St George. Played forward, and now Davidson into opposition territory. Wants the flick off Galliani, but that will be a goal kick. By the way, there's other women's streams that are available on the Football New South Wales YouTube channel right now at the live tab. Same way you're watching this one. So there were 4 5 p.m. kickoffs in the top division. Up on the Northern Beaches, Manly United hosting University of New South Wales. And by the way, good to see University of New South Wales announce the return of Abby Lemon, double A-League Women Championship winner with Sydney FC. Abby Lemon's back at UNSW for the remainder of this season. And, good friend. Yes, mine and Justin's good friend, Melissa Muscat, on the mic up at Cromer Park, as Chemajar through ball, which Russell should gather. But speaking of Maltese commentators, up on the Hunter Valley at the Wobbly Scissor Lift at Lake Macquarie Regional Football Facility, Ashley Borg is calling Newcastle Jets versus Sydney University. The 2 other 5 p.m. kickoffs, Apia Leichhardt versus Illawarra Stingrays at Lambert Park. Called by our Irish friend Dave Feeney, and MacArthur Rams versus Spirit FC at Linwood Park. Now makes its way to Baker. Baker shoots. It's wide. Goal kick. But Jordan Baker, 20 goals for the season already, and the St George fans would have liked their chances when she found that space near the edge of the box. The Seal Hill centre-backs preparing for the short goal kick. And by the way, to complete that thought of the other streams, at the always odd kickoff time of 5:10 p.m. at the Arctic Circle, Gladesville Ravens hosting Bulls FC Academy. Actually, that's the 2 clubs who got promoted from this division after the 2022 season. It does show you the quality in this division, where the teams recently promoted really making their mark. That's what Ravens and the Bulls have done. Same for UNSW and Mount Druitt Town Rangers, despite their washout of today's away game against Olympic. That'll have to be replayed at a later date, but Mount Druitt Town Rangers, first time ever in the women's top tier, leading the competition. Now St. George free kick on the far side. I think that's Baker to deliver from out wide. Takes a touch and will lead to the first corner of the game. Interesting one, given Jordan Baker's goal-scoring abilities, that she's also taking the wide set pieces, but he does deliver a good dead ball, and in fact, she will also take this corner kick. East Hope organising, as I think that might be Jaslyn Moore, who I always call this role the nuisance player. Jaslyn Moore, the attacker closest to the goalkeeper. So Baker signals and delivers near post. It's allowed to bounce, and then heart flutters for those of a Hills persuasion, but East Hope gathers, and it's a nice throw to Shabaris. St. George FC rushing back. Shabaris, was she clipped? Yes. As I mentioned earlier, this is the end of the first half of the season, round 13 out of 26. It was like, round 1 feels like only yesterday, and round 1 also St. George FC's only previous appearance for this season in front of our cameras, and a very successful outing at Barton Park. St. George FC defeating Bankstown City by 5-0, while as that's over everyone in the middle, but then off, I think, Galliani, and for a goal kick. Meanwhile, Hills United, as I look at my notes, that round 1 game, that was, I think, actually the earliest game of the season. It was a Saturday down on the South Coast. Hills defeated South Coast Flame by 2-1. Double from Jess Wooden, who's on the bench today for Hills, and the temperature was about 4,000 degrees at Ian McLennan Park. Now, St. George working the left side. And the cross will make its way. And it to the middle. It hits the post, I think, off Kodmani. And now chance for Baker, maybe. Not held by East Hope. Well, not held at the first time. But she gets her hands on it the second time round. And there you go, St. George FC. Well, they do score a lot of goals. And also a team used to scoring early on in games. They haven't scored in the opening quarter hour this time, but Mark Greenfield's sides have already scored 16 goals in the opening 15 minutes of games, as there's one for your Valentine Sports Park bingo card. Genevieve Russo smashing a ball into the Football New South Wales office. Okay, in case you're wondering why those metal railings are there. Yep, that's why. Holder, interesting ball. Woolley will set after it, but Russell pretty unbothered and gets the gloves on it. So, as I mentioned earlier, no goals for St. George FC in the opening 15 minutes, obviously, because it's still 0-0, and that therefore means Hills United keep up with their record of not having conceded in the first 15 minutes of a game this season. St. George back to Russell. Now, wider, and pass out from the back from Johnson, not making its mark, and then she's fouled Galliani, so attacking set piece for Hills coming up. Now, it's going to be Donaldson to deliver from out wide. Caitlin Russell has asked for 3 players in the wall. Decent delivery and a flick on off a Hills forehead. Actually, well, I said off a Hills forehead. Must have taken a St. George touch at some point, because it's going to be the home side's first corner of the evening. Now, the delivery, Russell is up there and catches it pretty much unguarded. It's a nice pair of safe hands. And the kind of catch that builds confidence that defenders have in their goalkeeper. Now, of course, it did occur to me, because this was the case in the under-23 game between these two teams as well. Donaldson with the tackle there. Two keepers with a very similar look for today, both in pink jerseys. Actually, one for you cycling fans, because a couple of pink jerseys, because I believe May is the month when they hold that cycling race in Italy, the Giro d'Italia. The leader of that wears a pink jersey. I know, love a good cycling tangent, but yeah. Both Caitlin Russell and Sarah Easto, pink jerseys, black shorts, black socks, and from memory, I think these two teams have the same kit supplier, which would explain why. Shout out to the fine folk at Legia. Actually, Legia must be loving this competition. I think they also supply Marconi, who are also challenging in this division. So, yeah. I'm sure they'll tell you it's the kit. Now, Hasty sees nothing open, or nobody open in front of her, goes back to Easto. Davidson, far touchline, going long, covered by Russo. Now, St. George. Pass goes astray, and Hasty, well, she's got to be quick because the pressure was coming. She is quick enough, and now Hill's working it left towards Tamsin Buchanan. Now Holder, and that's a nice ball from Holder to find Gallieni. And Gallieni's cross is blocked. About midway through the first half, still goalless between Hills United and St. George FC in the match of the round for League One Women's Round 13. And we do hope you're enjoying our coverage. Now Buchanan, there's the long throw into the middle towards Woolley, but it's a good aerial defending from St. George. Now Davidson wins the battle against Baker. We'll keep an eye on that one-on-one contest. And Chemajar threading it through. Woolley shoots from range. And one hop off the synthetic turf. And it is saved by Russell. By the way, as Buchanan plays it forward off the knee and straight to Monique Holder. Well done, Tamsin. Here's Gallieni, but overcooked that one. But to remind me, of course, this is actually a freshly relayed surface here at Valentine Sports Park, field number 2. To reach the end of its life cycle, which generally is about 10 years. This field obviously gets a lot of use. As Buchanan is now high up the field looking to defend, and multiple players winning it back for Hills. Now Chemajar, strong run, and shoots us across the face of goal and out of reach for Shabaris at the far post. It is a goal kick. But yes, this newly laid pitch. And shall we say, and Justin Davies will agree with me, when this particular surface was out of action last year, it got quite awkward, didn't it? The grass field behind us got very worn very, very quickly. And then just... and if you work on the kind of the Football New South Wales tournaments such as the State Cup, as I do, yeah, that was thanks to the fine folk at Manly Warringah Football Association for making Cromer Park available, because otherwise, don't know what they would have done, but, you know, MWFA to save the day, so to speak. Now, Gallieni with a try for goal, which curls neatly into Russell's gloves. Now Chemajar has got the better of Borrell and puts one nicely over the top for Shabaris. Shabaris to the byline and then couldn't wrap a foot around it, so it is a goal kick. And St George FC getting on with it. And the distribution to the far side in front of those very helpful Hills United ball kids. Hope they're staying warm because it's not the warmest place at Valentine Sports Park. But St George win it back. And now Kodmani centrally back, and Kvetkovsky was quick enough and then plays a nice ball over the top, so Hills got a scramble. And the runners are coming. Here's Kodmani, and Kodmani was the defending there just in the nick of time, possibly from Galliani, so that was number 10 on number 10 there. Kodmani was about to swing the left boot, and she was stopped. Kodmani, the joint, I'll put this, the joint second top scorer for St George FC this season with 7 goals across League and Cup. Abby Rose Cryer and Danielle Rutstein also on 7 goals. So those 3 providing good goal scoring support for Jordan Baker. Now Woolley stolen in and will head straight for the box. Woolley holds off a challenge and then still got it. Woolley, angle's going to be tight, but she does shoot and sneaks it all the way in. And Gemma Woolley's opened the scoring for Hills United with a wonderful individual effort. She kept her head when the challenge came in, kept her footing as well, found the space, and wasn't stopped by the tight angle. Somehow finding a way through, and it's Hills United 1, St George FC 0. And for Gemma Woolley, that's her 5th goal of the campaign. And she certainly does know how to score. Who does know how to score a goal in this competition. And for long-time followers of this competition would remember Gemma's goal-scoring exploits, especially in 2022. She was at or near the 30-goal mark in what ended up being a promotion season for Gladesville Ravens. Now Donaldson. A longer pass with Shabaris the target, but back to the keeper, and Russell clears. There we go. We have a goal with the half-hour mark approaching. And Hills scoring first once again. Holder, good tackle, and then was fouled as well. So, Hill set piece, you'd think it's too far out for a shot, but you never know. Let's see what Hills are planning. Can tell you that these centre-backs, Davidson and Hasty, will get into the mixer for this one. Now, aerially, Hill's quite strong. Davidson's generally good for a few goals a year. Gemma Woolley and Brooke Hasty quite good in the air as well. So, what's the plan for Bella Donaldson here? Into a great area, and the header was from Hasty, and it's looped up and down. And then onto... Oh, I thought the keeper got a touch, but obviously I'm not in the best position, and no Hills player protesting, so clearly that my eye's playing a trick on me, not for the first time either, and that must have landed on the roof of the net. As they work out the back to St George to Kodmani, and now space for Jaslyn Moore. Now Baker holding it up, sideways, and looped up. But I think that's Galliani again, who only showed desperation to get to the ball before her direct opponent, and she's cleared it out. She will be a corner. So everyone back except Woolley for Hills. Here's the corner. East hopes up, and very safe pair of hands. Distribution's not bad either. And now a chance for Shabaris to run on the side nearest to us. Wants to cut inside onto her right foot, but well done by Kwiatkowski to stop her. Quick turn from Konmani, and then it's kind of went between St. George players. Baker looking to keep it alive. Up against, I think, Plummer, and Plummer, strong foot in there. Woolley, a little bit of head tennis. Now Woolley again, who's surrounded by St. George players and perhaps understandably has coughed it up. But it is her goal, Gemma Woolley's goal, that separates the two teams. I must say, and I will keep repeating this whenever I call a game with Gemma Woolley, has one of the best professions in the state leagues. She's a cosmetic doctor. She did correct me once. Not a cosmetic surgeon. It's non-surgical, but she's a cosmetic doctor. And that scoreboard opposite us, our filming position here. Well, it's Gemma Woolley's goal that has made the scoreboard look a lot better if you are of a Hills United persuasion. Now Baker center circle, and it's going to be over Hasty. East Hope's up already, and that's good command of the penalty area. That was an interesting ball, and the strong run from Rutstein. But East Hope with the positioning and anticipation. And presumably displaying a lot of other attributes you find on Football Manager. But Davidson. And now Hasty. Galliani's going to chase this one, and it's over Johnson's head. So Johnson, she's pretty quick, but Galliani's won the race. Now, quick feed from the referee to dummy that one, and then Chimazar trying to sneak into that gap between defense and midfield. It's St. George who will play towards halfway. Baker stealing in there. And Baker, if she didn't have enough reasons to stand out with the general play, and that bright Dayglow orange captain's armband, Buchanan will leave that for East Hope. And Jordan Baker, it's that time of the year because she's wearing gloves as well. Jordan definitely not the first Baker that needs to wear gloves. But as there's a back pass to Russell. Oh, there's more, don't worry. And Buchanan, again, another long hurl. And Buchanan's shoulders will be pretty warmed up and loosened by now. As more plays at well out of reach, and East Hope, I think, very subtle little signal, just extending the hands a little bit to calm things down. And it is Davidson, the pass that is missed. So Chemajar is going to try and get on the end of that, but it was Manos. And Manos has, in fact, helped win the throw for St. George. Now, St. George trying the far side as we look at things. By the way, my usual apology in advance because my old eyes, I'm really doing my best when it's on the far side of the field. But I'm really trying. But it's good to see, as always. I mean, as that cross is blocked, Hill's attacking throw coming up. Oh, gee, no, it's not. There's those old eyes again. Didn't see it correctly. St. George throw from neither end corner flag, but I'm doing the thing that my mum says I do too much of, checking my messages. But good to see that Priya Sadana Kakar of Spartans is tuning in. So, yeah, thanks for your Priya. Well, she's supporting her former Sutherland teammate Gemma Woolley, so Priya just like the Hills folk will be very happy with how things have gone so far in the opening 36 minutes. Speaking of Sutherland, trust me, I will remember to talk about that signing news that I hinted at earlier. As good couple of touches from Davidson as it came almost at neck height, but the Hills skipper adjusted. Touch from Manos, but Holder hits the synthetic turf. We'll go on with Shabaris, and now direct to Woolley. And Russell's got to rush out, and yep, she actually does get it pretty comfortably. Shabaris outside of the foot pass, and Woolies are chasing this one. That's a good goalkeeping technique, sliding out and making sure there were no bobbles. So Russell, despite the concession of the goal, doing a lot of things right. And this first half here at Valentine Sports Park with Hills United leading St George FC by 1-0. Now Russell, I think she's a lefty, so on the right foot this time, pretty decent. Did well to find Rutstein, and the cushion header from Rutstein finds Moore. Kodmani turns in the circle. Then Plummer, good positioning. The ball, it was an option out wide. It might still get to that player. And it's a good burst of speed. Hasty up against Moore, but Moore has retained possession. Forced backwards, though. And Hill's very insistent that they all step up. Not get forced too deep. Now, Lauren Johnson. Crosses. Header from Hasty. And then St George trying to turn the screw as Rutstein plays it up, and Davidson, could have been an awkward one with a back to goal, but she's played it up in the air, gets a bit of help from her teammates, and then it's a sore one, and the decision is not a free kick, but sporting behaviour from Taylor Kvetkovsky to check that her opponent is okay. So I'll keep an eye on this one. Might be a bit of a break here. And Gemma Woolley off frame, just getting a quick and a well-deserved drink, as also a yellow card, I think, to Bella Donaldson. Well, I hope you know, Justin Davies, because it's your job to know. And yeah, I reckon that's Bella Donaldson. Must have been for something she said, but first play into the referee's notebook in the 39th minute. Now Johnson will get us back underway. Now Galliani, who's more of an attacking sort of player, generally from wide positions, but Galliani's done a fair share of defensive work today. And Holder couldn't find Woolley. Chemajar, Galliani, but perhaps not quite enough in the legs, at least at this phase of the game, to get on the end of that. And again, Russell will gather the ball, so we can start again. And a long kick over the first players challenging in the air. It's St George who finally settled it with Baker. Baker, diagonal ball. Buchanan blocks it. And after all that, Brooke Hasty has decided that she wants to play it into the crowd. And tell you what, that particular spectator, off a bounce, he stopped it one-handed, then caught it one-handed, and then he may have nearly hit Hill's substitute sitting in the technical area. Such are the occupational hazards of football New South Wales League One Women's. Now, St George trying the left side. And there's a decent run, but Shabaris the defending, I think, against Abby Rose Cryer. And so the 2-on-1, the second defender working in Hill's favour. Woolley pressing. Russell trying the left side. Chemajar stepping in and across halfway. No, not enough room to make a way through. Now Hasty, again, kind of over playing it out of reach of her teammates, but this is a look at a roundup of their fixtures. The other League One women's fixtures being played today. By the way, there was a midweek game at the, well, what do you call that? Behind the Palace, Marconi Stadium Field 2. Mariners, successful midweek trip for them. Central Coast Mariners defeating Marconi by 2-1, as the foul is called against Johnson. And Marconi have the bye this weekend, while, fortunately for the Mariners, the beach battle between Central Coast Mariners and South Coast Flame, I'll workshop that one, but anyway, the beach battle between Central Coast Mariners and South Coast Flame, as I hinted at earlier, has been washed out. Oh, these jokes, someone's going to have to draw a line in the sand one day, but as Chemajar wins it back, and still running. In fact, a couple of slide tackles, one from Chemajar, one from Russell. Decision goes Hill's way. And Hill's corner coming up. Mariners versus Flames. Myself and Justin, a matchup with so much potential. I mean, the jokes would be coming in waves, wouldn't they, Justin? Yeah. I will go through the other games that are being played in this today for round 13 of the League One Women's. But first, corner kick. I think that's Chemajar delivering from the flag. Now up there, takes a flick off Davidson's head. So the other centre back for Hills, Hasty, is in pursuit. And Hasty crosses blocked, I think, by Moore. Shabaris picking up the scraps. Back to Hasty. Finds herself in the unusual position of right wing. Pretty decent cross, though, and Woolley was nearly on the end of that. Shabaris with the header can't find a teammate. And the St. George counter, well, that's not going to get very far because Buchanan will work it back to Easthope. Baker presses, but Easthope had options either side. So Buchanan, now Galliini, right on halfway. I like it when the ball's near me. I can see properly. Now the doubling up there for St. George. It stops Galliini at least for now, but Hills throw in right in front of their coach, Alan Tassis, coming up. Woolley, now Chemajar. And back to Buchanan. Now, there's that, will end up being a St. George throw. I mean, I just assumed this. Because the three of them were at Spirit last year, I just assumed Tamsin Buchanan was related to Ella Buchanan and Kaya Buchanan. Never actually bothered to check. I just felt like that would be the case. Pretty sure they're all sisters. And Kaya Buchanan, one of the players that are key in Mount George run to the top of NPL Women's New South Wales. Well, Ella Buchanan, despite the Wanderers League position, I thought she had a good season in A-League Women for the Wanderers. But that's going to be half-time, and this 45 minutes for Hills United, it's just what the doctor ordered, because Gemma Woolley has scored the goal that has them in a 1-0 lead as the teams head into the dressing sheds. Wonderful individual efforts, followed by a finish from a tight angle. That's Gemma Woolley's 5th goal of the season. And this is Eric Subihano on the mic from Valentine Sports Park. We will take a short break, 10 minutes, maybe a little bit more, and then we'll be back for the second half. still use that? You know who doesn't have it?
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? It's great for us.
Enjoy the paper t-shirt, the one you put the cup on we had.
By the way, the gaps in the country, I was trying to win a $100 special at all at the same time. And I was looking at the price. I was looking at the price. I'm like, bro, it's gone above 300 on Australian money. It had EUR in front of it, Euro, and I was like, fuck. I was like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
Oh, Mariners do some fucking position.
Yeah.
But you know, like, a mate of mine's got Gomez jerseys because he's friends with the parents, and that's how you have to go through quite easy. Like, this is.
Come on.
I'm trying to give you my money. Garlic, Gomez, Nash, Rowe, come on, man. It's like, I bought it because everyone was doing what I did. They were just sitting and waiting like a sniper because their prices were low for ages, and then it just went like that. I can't. Like, no hope. How else am I supposed to do merchant of Venice jokes, huh? Oh God, she's extracted a pound of flesh. And people who don't know Shakespeare are like, this is a bit extreme. We're like, it's really not. Relax. Shame about the rampant anti-Semitism of the Merchant of Venice. But anyway, that is. Now I should. If you go to the regular style, I'm gonna read it. Just I need lines from that.
Yeah, that's dedication to the craft.
To put to the ridiculous for one player.
Good hustle.
You don't get this from other commentators.
No.
Oh, it's Madison. Well, of course, Madison stuff. Right? Yeah, Madison is adding to the list for me. Oh, the Robertson Rumble! The Sapphire. Yeah, that's the Sapphire.
Oh yeah.
We can't. I mean, it would be good to stream, but we can't stream it because cool. Yeah. Well, just not mine.
Hell yeah.
Yes, and I'm like, I'm nodding when they're talking about it. I'm like, this is like, I like this. I love it. I don't just put something. So after they come back, right at the end, how Mark is originally trying to make something. She turns on to her left forward, confident back of Bailey, and she sees a chance. She saw it open up for her to clean up how Mark is going. I think Ashley should probably lose it. She got the ball, but I think it was by accident. She nearly left it clean. I've had enough of this child.
Their league game will be worth
That's what I want. Well, that's one at least one. Yeah. Someone tapped me on the shoulder. Just said, "You can't hear you."
Oh, I always like that. That's what I was like, it's funny. I can't do much about the race.
I was confused. I wanted to say, why are you watching? You're already here.
Maybe they just really like you.
Yeah. Cap person, please. Thoroughly exciting. We're missing. Welcome back to our coverage of Football New South Wales League One Women's. It's the match of the round for round 13. Hills United currently leading St George FC by 1-0, courtesy of Gemma Woolley's 5th goal of the campaign. There's the whistle. Away we go. I was trying to keep a track on the shirt numbers as the teams came back out in the field for the second half from the tunnel. I don't think there's been any halftime subs made, but I'm just double checking that, and then I might confirm the lineups as Galliani delivers from out wide and Russell catches. But Justin and I have been going around the grounds. Of course, that's the beauty of the YouTube app. You can watch the games wherever you are. Don't even need an account. But there's been certainly some spectacular goings on around the grounds, and because this is a Hills home game, I mean, a player with a Hillshire link, shall we say, is up on the northern beaches as Baker swings it in, and that should be East Hope's ball. Up on the northern beaches, late stages in that one, but the player I mentioned earlier, player from the Hillshire, Abby Lemon, has scored an incredible goal, long-range goal, to give the University of New South Wales a 1-goal lead over Manly United on her return to NSW. Make sure you watch that when you get the chance, as there's, I think, Shabaris defending and running all the way across the field before finding the safety of the touchline. Good job there from Shabaris. But yeah, that Abby Lemon goal, I say she played her junior football for Carlingford Redbacks, and she absolutely put that ball up where the Spiders live, because it is a contender for goal of the season. But back to this game. Defensive head, I think, from Chemajar. No, actually from Galliani, but then that is cleared out by a Plummer. And now Manos. A throw in aimed for Cryer. And time to give Abby Rose Cryer a bit of commentary love, because she's on the near side of the field, which means I will be able to see her for the remainder of this game. But that is going to be a a Hills goal kick. So it does look like as Hills play out short from the goal kick. Alan Tassis hasn't made any changes at the interval. So as Woolley chases this one. And that's back with Manos for St George. Finding Johnson. Johnson plays it to Tamsin Buchanan. And Buchanan might have lost out here. Baker looking to switch, and East Hope already good starting position, as the goalkeeping coaches like to say, and the ball's gone pretty much straight at her. But yes, East Hope booms it into the center circle. And yes, that Hills lineup, just for those of you, so they haven't made any changes. For those of you that missed it at the start of the game, it's number 99, Sarah East Hope in goal. Four at the back from left to right, that's number 15, Tamsin Buchanan. Number 6, Brooke Hasty. Number 3, the Hills captain, Aisling Davidson. And number 5 on the ball right now, Ronnie Plummer. 5 across the midfield with number 8, Bella Donaldson, sitting behind number 10, Bianca Galliani. Number 11, Isabella Chaberis. They're the 2 wide players. And kind of more centrally, number 25, Monique Holder. And number 14, Ellen Chemajar. And up front, the goal scorer for tonight, number 7, Gemma Woolley. Now Holder, trying to shake off, I think, Sienna Borrell. And Holder, well, that's fantastic skill from Holder. Not much room, but enough room for a futsal player to show what she can do. Shout out to the fine folk at Mountain Magic Futsal Club. And Monique Holder has won Hills by my very manual and unofficial tally, their 3rd corner of the evening. Angela Depobe in perfect position to take photos of the corner taker, who is Chemajar, and swings it in. Who was that off last? Off Hills last. Got to it first, but couldn't convert, and it is a St. George goal kick. Yeah, it's good to see both teams keep it moving by trying to play short from the back, but that does sneak its way across the field. Plummer with the foot in for Hills, and then Manos kind of hustling backwards. Manos finds a player in a pocket of space. That's Kodmani. Then Holder was hoping to ease it away, and now Hasty will play it now. Buchanan's going to continue a run, but just rolls away from the Hills left back at the end. Vetkovsky. Now, St. George. That's actually good technique in the box, but it's followed by a giveaway. There's Galliidi. Appears to have switched sides with Chaberis for the second half, but meanwhile, Chemajar and might have found Woolley here. Or possibly Chaberis making a late run, but Hills number 11 eased away from it. Yes, for Hills, it does look like Galliani's on the right side of their formation in the second half, with Isabella Chaberis switching over to the left. Hasty, pressed by Moore. Hills throw. St. George FC, well, kind of chatting with Justin Davies during the break and tried to write down what I think their formation is. I'm glad I didn't say it out loud because I reckon I've got that wrong, just looking at how they lined up in the second half. As that's a St. George goal kick. So looking like they're playing up there. Yeah, this is pretty clear. 3 at the back. Okay, well, what I've written down on the St. George part of my notes must never see the light of day, because that's wrong. But good turn from Moore. And then Davidson getting the jump on Baker. Hasty, no options that she wanted, so clears it into the grass clearing between us and those houses. Opposite our filming position. Hasty again. Clear. Oh, well, no, it does stay in play, and now almost up for grabs, possibly for Cryer, and then Baker trying to keep it in live. Here is Donaldson, I think, and no, sorry, it's Chemajar, who's not going to get the decision that she wanted. Through ball, Plummer steps in ahead of Cryer. But meanwhile, it's Baker. Baker shoots, and it's over the crossbar. The restart. Gallieni down the line. Woolley. And St George double up on Woolley. But Plummer trying to be the attacking pipeline for Hills. That's the former's furthest forward she's been all game. But St George squeezed the space. In fact, in the end, St George able to wrench the ball away from Plummer. That was Borrell. And now Hasty booms it into St George territory. Gallieni preventing a forward progress. Kodmani, good use of the body to win the free kick. By the way, I mean, I suppose... As they restart, Baker dropping deep to hold it up. Now Cryer, facing backwards, finds the open player, who's Russo. Great, Kvetkovsky. And wide, that's Johnson. Kvetkovsky across to Sienna Borrell. Davidson slides, but Cryer's kept it away for her. Baker's drifted out to the near touch line, and then the ball in. Well, a little bit of a touch, but possibly from Hasty, but it doesn't matter because East Hope has taken possession. So, as East Hope, that's an interesting long kick, and Woolley very interested in that as well, as it's played backwards, and then Russell, well, it goes out of the box, so Russell's got to use that left boot to clear it to safety. Cryer waiting for it to drop. And Gallieni wasn't waiting, but it's still with St George FC, and a bit of room for Jaslyn Moore. Moore up against Hasty. Cryer, and Cryer, long-range shot. Hills United not bothered. It's another goal kick. So yeah. Actually, you know what? As someone who in a previous life was a reporter for the Y League, remember that, the Y League? Yes. Yeah, so I don't blame you if you don't, but just say I like what St George are doing. It's an interesting, different look to what generally you're used to seeing. Definitely not a 4-3-3. It looks like it's 3 at. Oh. Well, it's well, at least it's not 4-3-3 when they have the ball. As the ball is forward and it bounces off Holder, and Holder will get to it first. Decent ball towards Woolley, and now Gallieni. Left-footed effort, which Russell is able to acclaim. Now, always St George FC, I love it when the technical areas are in front of us, because unlike the game I called last night at Penshurst Park, those subs were a bit of a struggle, but I can tell that Mark Greenfield is preparing a double substitution. So number 6, Tara Palmer, and I think number 18, Morgan Maxwell, are going to come on. Now, building from the back, St George, and last touch of Gallieni. Gallieni can't get past the two opponents. Oh no, in the end actually, no, okay. One for Justin Knight to figure out, because there's a 19 on that jersey, and I didn't see a 19 when I looked at dribble. So, can you just double check that, Justin? But anyway, it's going to be the end of the shift, I think, for Jaslyn Moore and Abby Rose Cryer. Replaced number 6 is Tara Palmer, number 19. Well, this is, apologies for that, everyone, but of course, Kanch is 19. They changed. Okay, so Morgan Maxwell was always 19, and I didn't write it down correctly, which is, to be honest, the most likely explanation, but we'll go with that. Anyway, forget us. Don't mind me, as decent delivery from Holder, and it might come out the back to Shabaris. Takes a deflection. That should be a corner. Yes, my apologies. But yes, just to clarify, St George FC a double sub in the 58th minute with Tara Palmer and Morgan Maxwell, replacing Abby Rose Cryer and Jaslyn Moore. Chemajar raises the hand to signal and then delivers. Interesting ball, good punch, and then Woolley. Shot blocked. Here's Galliini. She shoots. And, well, Galliini almost won a straight back in the area. Another cross from Chemajar. Very clear shout from Russell, followed by this demonstration of a safe pair of hands. Baker, I guess, wins the aerial challenge, but doesn't make it stick. Galliini. Now Plummer. Maxwell, newly introduced player. But St. George undone by a loose pass, and then Chemajar wins a free kick. Just about at the hour mark here in Glenwood. Hills United leading St. George FC by a goal to nil in the League One Women's Match of the Round for round 13. And the goal scorer, Gemma Woolley, closest to that for Hills, but Russell, a reasonably comfortable catch. Davidson heads. Plummer. And then Davidson slams the ball into Baker, and depending on the spin on the ball, Baker might get onto it, but Plummer with a textbook sliding tackle. Clean as a whistle. And tell you what, it's well, I've got a full-time score at Cromer Park, just courtesy of Justin Davies and the YouTube app, so it's something I've been saying in relation to Sydney FC's women's team for a while. If you want to win, play Abby Lemon. Well, that's what UNSW did. And UNSW will be taking the 3 points back to Kensington. 2 late goals there in that game. Actually, so now St. George trying the far side. Here's Maxwell. And Maxwell shoots, but that's not going to bother Easthope. And Easthope, in fact, just trapping it before picking it up to run down a few more seconds. Now it's Woolley for Hills, and Woolley might get all the way through to the edge of the box, and then efforts wide of the target. But Gemma Woolley, who did something similar to score the opening goal of the game in the first half, nearly a repeated defeat at the other end of the ground next to the dam at Valentine Sports Park. That's played through. By the way, it was going quiet because I was just letting the media manager know about Abby Lemon's goal, because I think it's worth I think it's worth putting on socials, because that's the kind of friend I am. You're welcome, Abby. I should probably concentrate on this game, hey? Here's Maxwell running through the midfield. There's a strong tackle there, and then Galliini, the late contact. It will be a free kick for Hills in the centre circle. So, Davidson into the mixer and off a hop. off a hop off the synthetic turf. Good concentration from Russell. Oh, like, as they say, your brand is the things people message you about. So thank you to Justin Smith for letting me know that Abby Lemon scored against Manly. I already know, but it's still good to see messages like that. Now, Davidson should have the prime position for this one. In fact, she knows it's comfortable enough to leave it for Easthope. And again, Easthope's going to run down every possible second before gathering the ball. Maxwell, she actually good movement and found some space, but couldn't make it stick. So I think Shabaris trying to rise above her opponent there, and in the end, well, she was done enough to win the throw. By the way, other games in this round, yes, I finally found this on the Dribble app. I can't believe it took me so long, but Marconi had the bye. There was a 3:30 p.m. game, so I think we said earlier, between SD Raiders and the Spartans at Ernie Smith Reserve Field number 2, the newer synthetic one down there. Chembajar on a run before it's cleared, but yeah, there were a couple of games that kicked off at 5 p.m., so roughly half an hour before this one started. It was Inter Lions versus the PNFC at Majors Bay Reserve. Also Camden Tigers versus Blacktown City at Rondine Memorial Reserve. And the other 5:30 p.m. kickoff was at... it's a home game swap. There's a venue swap. Technically a home game for Southern Strikers against Bankstown City, but it was at Jensen Park. Well, it's a grass surface down there, and even though it is hybrid, as I'm sure you're all aware, we've had a lot of rain, so... good to see the clubs working together to make sure that games can be played on the scheduled dates. That was 5:30 p.m. kickoff between Sutherland and Bankstown. Donaldson with the delivery, and Galliani to the loose ball. Before I think that is Palmer trying to shepherd it out, and doing so successfully. Now Holder waits for the bounce and then a high cross as it drops. Ooh, where's that? May need to stop it, yeah. Got to take head injury seriously. And one player down for each side. Galliani might be one of the players down. Galliani for Hills and possibly Manos. Possibly Manos for, I was about to say Sutherland. Manos for St. George. Well, if you know this division, you'll know that's actually quite an easy mistake to make. Now, yeah, but hopefully those two players are okay. It's good to see they're both sitting up, but Hills players taking the chance actually well. It's a bit of Hills physio rushing to get a bag, so hopefully that's just a precautionary thing and not actually a bad sign. But I think it's Martis, whoever it was for St. George. They're back up on their feet, which is good, but a bit more concern showed with Galliani as do you have a full-time score at Lambert Park? By the way, great coffee at Lambert Park, always. Great coffee. The chicken roll chili mayo, not bad either. This has been Canteen Watch with Eric Subihano, but no goals between RPL Leichhardt and Illawarra Stingrays. in that game there, and also full-time at Linwood Park, and is a 3-0 win to Spirit FC over MacArthur Rams. I suppose the only question left, did Sky Marek score 1, 2, or all 3 goals for Spirit? We'll find out in the report that'll be out on NPL New South Wales socials, NPL New South Wales Facebook page later this evening. And more away day success. So Sydney University will be travelling back down the motorway with big smiles on their faces after teaching emerging Jets a lesson. No, Newcastle Jets a lesson. They've changed their name. But a 4-0 win. A 4-0 win for Sydney Uni against Newcastle Jets. Meanwhile, St George FC huddling because it's a big period of the game, and it could be a big game in the context of both team seasons. Just a little bit over 20 minutes remaining. Now it's going to be a sub, so hope Bianca Galliani is okay, but she will not be continuing. I can see Rachel Glendenning is getting ready to come on. So Glendenning, score of 1 goal this season. Actually, it's going to be a double sub made by Alan Tassas, because Jess Wooten, actually Hill's top scorer with 11 for the campaign, she will go on as well. And it's Jess Wooten replacing Gemma Woolley and getting a well-deserved round of applause as well. So you think Jess Wooten would just go up top in a straight swap for Woolley, while Rachel Glendenning on the right side of that midfield replacing Bianca Galliani, who's let's hope she's okay, but she's being looked after by a couple of Hill staff as she walks back to the technical area. And Glendenning already getting a touch before being dispossessed by Kodmani. And Shabaris plays it, and it's back to Buchanan. Now Hasty draws a low pass. Shabaris did the best to keep it in play, but it then ends up, I think, with Johnson. Actually, now I'm wondering if I'm Mr. Halftime Sub. I'll think about that a bit more, as Holder, well, showed great concentration, almost trod on the ball, but still kept it, was able to find a teammate before that will be out of Glendenning's reach. Justin, do you think Ashley Katevsky, number 17 for St. George, came on at halftime? Do you think so? I was wondering, no, it's more important for you, Justin, to be fair, but I was wondering why that 13 didn't look like a 13. Like, yeah, it might actually be a 17. I'm sorry, Ashley, but just remember, go easy on us commentators. The camera zooms in, my eyes don't. As Easthope, once again, backpedaling. Again, going to try and run down every last second, knowing that her team has the advantage, courtesy of the first half goal from Gemma Woolley. Now, it's the header there, but again, Easthope is actually getting quite a few touches, but under not a lot of pressure, has to be said. And St. George, well, a little bit of loss of balance, but we're all okay. Now, Hill's keeper goes long. Nice cushion header from Glendenning, and the return ball might be on here. Holder gives us something to chase, but that's well, Glendenning, she actually did keep it in good speed, but then it is cleared in the end by St. George. Here's Maxwell. Now Maxwell played it behind Palmer. Oh no, that's a 13. Oh, I didn't miss it. Lauren Johnson's still on the field. Oh, it's a relief. Oh, great skill there. It might open up for Hills. Here's the ball to Wooten, but slightly overhit, and that's what gave Russell the chance. Russell, it's going to be over Hasty and Davidson. Calm back pass as the current Hills captain plays it to last year's Hills captain, Sarah Easthope. For Davidson heads over the sideline. Shaberis, of all people, attacker on attacker that time. Shaberis with a very vital touch to make sure Baker didn't shoot. And St. George sub coming up. Number 31. Hey, I wrote that one number down correctly. Paris Alcorn is about to enter the fray. And it will not be Angelina Manos, who was just leaving the field to get another ball. Guess I got bad news for you, Justin. Abby Roche-Cryer only left the field now. She didn't leave the field as part of that double sub. More work for you. But Tara Palmer can't find a teammate. Palmer stopping the Hills counter. Now, Kvetkovski. Kodmani, and they might have numbers here to St. George, but Hasty is in the right spot for Hills. Attacking throw-in for St. George coming up, and, you know, there's still plenty of time because, I mean, about the right time to say this. St. George have scored a lot of goals in the final 15 minutes of games. The 10 they played so far across League and Cup. They've scored, the 12 out of the 12 games they've played so far in both League and Cup. They've scored 10 goals in the 76th minute or later. So that'll be something for you to look out for. However, you could say exactly the same about Hills United, who have also scored 10 goals in the 76th minute or later this season. Plummer touches it past Baker's pressure, but this will be Manos. You do wonder, St. George playing that back three of Manos. Oh, actually, hold that thought, as that's not going to reach Baker, drifted out wide. But Manos, Russo, and especially Lauren Johnson, who is definitely a speed merchant. That's what we've seen in previous clubs, Sydney Olympic and RPL Leichhardt. But the wider plays in that St. George back three, you wonder, as St. George continue to chase this game, if they'll be released to go on more attacking rates. Because, as that's over Russo, Palmer's back to defend, but almost had it stolen off her. And Johnson is going to get to that before it creeps over the sideline. And the ball down the line, pretty a pinpoint as well. Now, Shaberis for Hills. Wooden, the 1-2, but St. George wise to the bounce pass. A wall pass, sorry. Bounce pass is a basketball term, my bad. And then, oh, well. It's, yes, because, well, there's a saying, strange things happen after dark at the Arctic Circle. And there has been a comeback in the 5:10 p.m. kickoff at Macquarie Park. But back to this game, as that should be cleared. And Manos plays it into the other number 14, Shemajal, before it is eventually cleared. But that's the Arctic Circle. Gladesville Ravens 2, Bulls FC Academy 3 is the final score. And as Wooden won't reach that pass from Shaberis. But yeah, I'm told it's a comeback by Bulls, so let's just say, what do we think? They certainly didn't leave any grey areas with their performance at the end of the game, is that? No. Anyway. Now, Zoe Murdoch, number 33 for Hills, is going to be the next player on for the hosts. But first, this St. George attack, as for a brief time, Alcorn made her way into the middle, into the box, but not for long. Manos. And as East Hope continues to shout the instructions and also tells Buchanan to leave it before sending it long over Wooden. Glendenning will put the pressure on and might have helped win the ball back for Hills because here's Holder. Holder, second chance to play a pass, but Russo's got the position there. Well, it's interesting the way St. George FC have been playing, and I'm definitely no tactician, but it is a back three. However, the two holding midfielders, which as of right now, I think it's Palmer and Kvetkovski, they are dropping into the back line as required, so a little bit of fluidity there. Meanwhile, looks like Shabaris tricks her way through, finds the cutback. And Chemajar stopped. Now Holder. And Donaldson from way out, straight at Russell. That's it. Well, actually, thanks, Justin. Gradually, we got there. Yeah, we've gone through all the scores from the NPL Women's New South Wales. If someone from SD Raiders could upload the score of their game against Spartans, that'd be wonderful. Wait, hang on. I'll get back to that. Now, St George. But by the way, just for the sake of completeness, last night in NPL Women's New South Wales, Northern Tigers defeated Western Sydney Wanderers Academy by 2-1. Former League One women's player Annabelle Banfield on the mic there. She'll be delighted to have called the game at North Turramurra without getting drenched by the rain. As Davidson, Chemajar. Now Glendenning gets the first touch past the player, cutting inside, but the numbers will win the day for St George as we're just about to enter the final 10 minutes with Hills United still leading by a 0-0. League One Women's Round 13. Davidson giving chase as Baker tries to change the scoreline, but Davidson gets there first. And the two captains continue to duel it out. Now, Angelina Manos feeling quite sore. And once again, grateful to be on the same side as the technical areas. Looks like both teams are going to make subs at the same time. So Zoe Murdoch, who has been waiting very patiently to make an appearance. Well, she will continue to wait as Lauren Johnson, she finally does make way. Now we get to see Ashley Katevsky in number 17, as well as number 22, who's Rebecca Cousins, and Angelina Manos, who was looked at by the St George staff, but she's the other player to make way. And meanwhile, Bella Donaldson, another solid shift in the centre of midfield for Hills by Donaldson. She's replaced by Zoe Murdoch. Throw in from Baker. So Jordan Baker taking a wide throw, and that reminds me of the game I called last night. The man known as the Baker, Alec Orashevsky, taking throw-ins for Rockdale Illingdon. Also, they both have, I believe, scored 20 goals this season, which is sounds about right for Jordan Baker and Alec Orashevsky. Now, Wooten. And Wooten might get all the way through. Good run, and she tries to slot it, but it rolls across the face of goal, and the score stays at 1-0. But that was excellent from Wooten. St George did have the numbers in front of her, but a couple of neat touches later, and she had created a shooting opportunity. She wasn't too far, the number 12 for Hills, not too far away from her 12th goal of the season. By the way, yes, we do finally have a result from that early game. The 3:30 p.m. kickoff at Ernie Smith Reserve. So SD Raiders have defeated the Spartans by 7-0. And SD Raiders, as of right now, have drawn level with Hills United on 28 points. But obviously Hills still leading this one, and quite close to moving to 31 points and restoring that 3-point lead over SD Raiders. But still plenty of time for things to change. Maxwell plays it out wide. Here's Baker, and we're backing off Baker. Played out wide. Cut back, doesn't quite find Baker. And he's cleared. Tell you what, 83rd minute, late stages, but I'm going to be tactically be a mistake for Hills to sit deep and park the bus this early. Holder with the header, but to St George. Palmer. Buchanan forcing, I think, Rutstein backwards. And now Buchanan might have had it been stolen by Rutstein, and Buchanan, well, I think We might call that a tactical foul. Tamsin Buchanan into the notebook. Free kick, and well, Shabaris really didn't hear the shout behind her, played it out for a St. George corner. Everyone's back for Hills. Here we go. And aimed at the far post, actually over everyone. And smart play there. As yes, I think it was Plummer who, just in the previous phase of play, let it run out. She knew there wasn't a touch, but now she definitely has to play at it and gets a bit of help from her teammates before Aisling Davidson smashes that into touch on the St. George side of the field. By the way, actually, thanks to Megan, long-time supporter of Football News of our streams. Yes, you're tuning in, and just to clarify that question you asked me. Yes, Spartans lost 7-0 to SD Raiders. Just want to make that clear. Now, Justin has something to show me, but first, Kodmani on the ball, and then Maxwell. More tried to find a teammate. She did have the runners, but Davidson was sharp enough to get to the ball and clear it. Now I think that's Katevsky pinned up almost against her own corner flag. I'll have to settle for the throw-in, but the ball is about as far away from where St. George wanted to be as possible. And a Hills double sub coming up. Number 9, Ellen Berrios, and number 13, Helena Berridge will be coming onto the field. So Monique Holder is making way. And as Monique Holder gets a well-deserved round of applause. So Berrios looks like she'll be the... actually, Ellen Barros looks like she's going to go up front. Jess Wooden going to drop into attacking midfield. And the other change for Hills, Helena Berridge, replacing Isabella Shabaris, who scored the last time we streamed a Hills United game at Valentine Sports Park, which was the 1-1 draw between Hills and SD Raiders in round 5, but no goals for Shabaris today, but some really promising runs. It really tested the St. George defence on her side of the field. 87th minute here, Hills United still leading St. George FC by a goal to nil. Gemma Woolley scored in the 28th minute. Now, Russo with the ball that is too straight for her teammates, and Easthope waiting to the very last fraction of a second before getting her hands on the ball. So, well, oh my goodness. Actually, that's probably worth covering, because at the appropriate break in play, because two teams, what do we call them? League One Women's Alumni? Gladesville Ravens and Bulls FC Academy? Yeah, that works. The Ravens were leading by 2-0. But it was a Bulls comeback to win 3-2 in the end, as we covered earlier. But first, space, lots of space for Helena Berridge. Looks for the cutback, but no teammate there near the penalty spot. Well, the comeback was started by Liz Gray for Bulls, and then what's the match center saying? 88th and 91st minute goals for Amber Lookmeyer to give Bulls an unlikely 3-2 win over the Ravens. Well, and Berridge going on another run. And she's done well. The substitute wins a corner. That's the kind of thing Hills one keeping it as far away from their goal as possible. Now you do wonder, in this kind of game situation, will Hills even bother with going direct, or will they play it short? Well, I mean, we're about to find out. Chemajar does go direct, and that's Wooden, and Wooden takes a tumble, will go on, and out wide to Baker, and now she's got plenty of support through the middle. Can she pick the pass? And Davidson, it's over her, so the gold jerseys have to get back as quick as they can. As here is Alcorn, and Alcorn delivers to the far post, and runner there around the back almost got in there, possibly Maxwell. What a great ball from Paris Alcorn, as delicious as a croissant, I have to be said. Well, that was a reach. Paris Alcorn delivering that ball into the trickiest place to defend between backtracking defenders and the goalkeeper, but he'll survive. Now Barrios will chase, but St. George look like they'll get there first. By the way, streams coming up. Almost at the start of June, but next weekend, Saturday the 31st of May and Sunday the 1st of June. As usual, a full set of... Actually, we've got plenty of women's football streams on the Football New South Wales YouTube channel, a League One Women's Match of the Round, and all 7 NPL Women's New South Wales games. Davidson lunging in there and heading to safety. The next weekend's League One Women's Match of the Round, round 14, the start of the second half of the season, Sunday 1st of June, 5 p.m. from Plume Park. I mean, surface permitting, of course. So there's been a lot of rain up there, but it is scheduled. Next week's featured game, 5 p.m. Sunday 1st of June, scheduled to be Central Coast Mariners against SD Raiders, with the voice of Central Coast football, Pete Pryor, on the mic from Lizaro. Katevsky giving chase. Katevsky doesn't want to go for safety because St. George really need the ball, and we are into stoppage time now. How much? Well, I don't know. There's no fourth official. It's like all football before the 1998 Men's World Cup. As Rutstein looking for some kind of room, but too many Hills players in front of her. By the way, just the rest of the streams, as next weekend will be NPL Women's New South Wales Round 13, so the rest of next weekend streams Saturday 31st of May, 3 p.m. from the Arctic Circle, Spirit hosting Mount Druitt Town Rangers with Annabelle Banfield on the mic. Then the other 6 women's games for next weekend on Sunday the 1st of June. I'll be on the mic at Northbridge Oval from 2:40 p.m. Sunday 1st of June for Bulls versus RPL Leichhardt. Then at 5 p.m. on Sunday 1st of June, it's Western Sydney Wanderers versus Newcastle Jets, Battle of the Kids and Match of the Round. Nicola Posda, the Serbian Martin Tyler, calling that one. Down at Linwood Park, it's MacArthur Rams versus Sydney Olympic with Angela Depobey. We'll be grateful for the short trip for a photography gig for once, as that goes out for a goal kick. That's a 5 p.m. kickoff in 7 days' time. Also at that time slot, Manly United hosting Sydney University at Cromer Park. Then there's University of New South Wales hosting Northern Tigers at the Village Green, and Illawarra Stingrays hosting Gladesville Ravens with Mr. Fix-It, Tim Gibson, on the mic from Macedonia Park. And get a little bit of early self-promotion in. I will be calling the League One Women's Match of the Round in 14 days' time. Sunday, 8th of June. I think that's a 4:30 p.m. kickoff at Barton Park, but I'll be my first trip to Barton Park, and I'll have the commentary for St. George FC versus Marconi Stallions, and that should be a great game. As that is slammed off St. George for a goal kick. Now, the giveaway, not what the host wanted. Konmani. And St. George very much in kitchen sink territory. Here's Baker, out wide, one-on-one against Buchanan, but now the defensive support there to help Buchanan. Baker, St. George skipper, trying her best, but it's not going to be enough for St George. And in League One Women's, it's a case of death, taxes, and Sarah Eastoke clean sheets. Hills United have defeated St George FC by 1-0. Sarah Eastoke keeps her 48th clean sheet in 90 appearances for Hills. And more importantly, it's another 3 points for Alan Tass's side. And they stay top of League One Women's with a 3-point buffer to second-placed SD Raiders. The deciding moment came in the 28th minute with Gemma Woolley. A really lovely goal, a really great individual effort, squeezing the ball home from a tight angle, threading the eye of a needle, and that was how we got to where we are. Hills United 1, St George FC 0. We hope you've enjoyed our coverage of Football New South Wales League One Women's, and one last reminder of streams coming up. Your next chance to see the St George FC women's team will be in 14 days' time, Sunday 8th of June, 4:30 p.m. from Barton Park. I'll have the commentary for St George FC versus Marconi. And keep an eye out on Football New South Wales League socials for both this report of round 13 done by Justin Davies and also the future matches of the round. But from Valentine Sports Park, Football New South Wales headquarters, it's Eric Subihano signing off. Thanks for your support of New South Wales women's football. Please protect the dolls in your life. Just remember, coffee and tattoos that make you feel better, and we will see you next time. The final score here from Valentine Sports Park is Hills United 1, St George FC 0.